Hi everybody, it's 9 o'clock on a Thursday night. It's time for our first ever edition of My First Bet. Why are we doing this show? Well, two reasons. One, I wanted to do it for quite some time and just never got around to it. And two, there's absolutely no sport, and in particular, no rugby to talk about, no rugby to bet about. This weekend is going to be a try and one, I can tell you. But if we can't bet on sport, we can certainly talk about sports betting and talk about it quite a bit. And our very first guest on My First Bet is Gavin Cone, a.k.a. Oracle Rugby. Gavin, great to have you on the show. You wearing orange there? You look like you've just stepped out of prison.
Yeah, I played tennis earlier, Brent. I'm in the same shirt. I haven't hit the shower yet, so I'll get there a little bit later. I just want to mention something that's actually just come up by you calling my name. In the betting circles of South Africa, I'm actually known as Small Gavin Cone. There's another guy that goes by the name of Gavin Cone, lives in Joburg, and he's called Big Gavin Cone, and he's a massive punter. And I've never met him. I've spoken to him on the phone a few times. But yeah, whenever I phone the bookmakers, they know me as Small Gavin Cone.
Excellent. Well, I must say, when I shared this on Facebook, and we are live on YouTube and Facebook, and to mention to the guys joining us on the live chat, feel free to fire questions at Gavin. He said absolutely nothing out of bounds today. But I described you as, if not the biggest character, one of the biggest characters in sports betting. And by that, I don't mean punter. I mean, there's some guys out there bet hundreds of thousands of rand. But you're a very unique character in that you have an opinion, and to me, it's your greatest strength and maybe sometimes your greatest weakness. It's not easy to sway you off an opinion, and you go and you throw everything at it, including, of course, the famous granny's pension every now and again. Yeah,
absolutely, Brent. And I think that, excuse me, if anything, it's probably not a skill, but a strength, I would imagine, is you've got to go with your gut. You've got to, you spend a few days, and something that I was never a Monday or Tuesday punter. I used to wait for Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays to have my bet, and I often waited for the market to move in the direction that the big punters moved it, and I'd make a decision. If it moved against me, well, it moved against me, and often it moved in my direction. And I read a book called it was written by a big poker player. I think it's called Smart Money. And that guy used to sit in bookmakers' casinos in America with bags of money, and he used to just wait. If it was sitting at plus 3.5 and he wanted plus 4.5, he'd sit there the whole day, and he'd say that it'd take half an hour to count the money, and eventually he'd get his plus 4.5. And the bookmakers loved him because he always went the other way. And often I don't go where the money is with rugby. I do with horse racing, but I certainly don't with rugby. I go the way I want to go. And if the money goes my way, it goes my way. If it goes against me, I'm also okay with that. I don't mind. I know there's a lot of Monday and Tuesday punters that have done very well over the time. A guy like Hilton Hassan will remember he had a company called Black Pearl. He used to open up on a Monday morning, and he used to come out with his rugby handicaps. I know he limited guys to sort of 5 or 10 grand or whatever it was at the time. I was never really interested in the Monday punt. I don't know. It just, I wanted to see a bit of movement, and I knew where I wanted to go, and just a bit of discipline, and that's it. And I stick to what I say. And guys will ask me on Tuesday, and I very, very, very seldom change my mind during the week. I do switch occasionally, but honestly, 1 in 200 I'll switch. The rest of it, if I like something on Monday or Tuesday, I'll have my bets on Wednesday or Thursday, and I'll stick to it. I don't let other people change my opinion.
Excellent. Well, welcome to the boys in the live chat. I see the likes of Sean Nicholas and Brendan O'Connell. Brendan and you go way back, and I'm sure we'll touch on that in a couple of Brendan's stories as we go through. Just to mention to everyone, the aim of this really is we're just talking betting. We want to get a feel for some of your betting stories, how you got involved in the game. All of us punters, we've got stories, great stories, and we've got plenty of losing stories as well. It's important, of course, that all of that comes out. But I do want to say to people, get comfortable, because this could be a while. In fact, I think there's a good chance we won't finish the show tonight, and then we'll continue. I'll tell you why, because when you interview someone, normally you come up with interview questions. I said to Gav, please, man, will you be the first guest on my show? And I don't know if people can, where am I holding it there? The guy sends me a checklist of keywords and stuff to answer him. Ask him. And it's not that I don't have questions for you anyway and stories, Gav, because you and I go back a long way. I think probably to when I started, Sports Review, you were one of the first advertisers. You were at Marshall's World of Sport then. You came on. We'll talk about the Jim Furyk story later. But we certainly go back a long way. So I've got some stories about you as well. But give us an idea. How did it all start? Well, how did you get into sports betting?
It's actually not one specific day, and I've written on those keywords there. There's 3 days that I could actually call my first punt. I know it sounds a bit odd, but they came at different times in my life and different situations. In fact, there's probably 4 or 5. But I'm going to tell a story about the Deck. And I that know Durban, there's a little restaurant called the Deck. I don't think it's going anymore. It was opposite Joe Cool's. It was above Cattleman. And anyway, I had an issue with my girlfriend in Joburg at the time. I got in my a mate of mine said he's going down to Durban for the weekend. It was actually going to Howick. Got in the car. I had nowhere to go. I had 400 or 500 rand in my pocket at the time. Anyway, I get down to Howick. We stay the weekend. Sunday afternoon, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I've left my job in Joburg. Anyway, we don't have cell phones in those days. I phoned my mate from the home phone at this woman's house in Howick. Phoned my mate in Durban. I said, listen, one of the guys at the Braai here says he can bring me down to Durban. Can I come and stay with you? So anyway, needless to say, I get down to Durban and we run out of money after about 2 weeks and we flip a coin. Who's going to get a job? So anyway, I lose the coin toss and I end up working as a waiter at Joe Cool's. Anyway, he's in doing his articles or whatever for accounting. He's studying accounting. And he was working at the Receiver of Revenue. So I used to take him we only had one car, so take him to the Receiver of Revenue in the mornings. And I got nothing to do until like nighttime shift or whatever. So we go down to the Deck and we have breakfast. And there's this old Indian chap called Ash. And he was so funny. He used to come with his racing, his newspaper, and he'd open it up and he's pointing to all of this stuff. And in those days, we're talking about 1993, you couldn't bet on sport in those days. And anyway, he's telling us about these horses. And this guy called Wayne Bridle, he was the manager at the Deck at the time. He's telling me, listen, don't listen to this Ash. Like, he says, I got one for you. I said to him, like, what do you know about horse racing? He says, no, I know a little bit about horse racing. So he says to me, I must go and gives me number 10 and number 1 in the 4th race. He says, go take a swinger. He says, you put whatever you like on it. Now, beers are 3 rand at the time. I go put $10 on this. So that's equivalent to, I don't know, 50, 100 rand today. I go put this, I walk 4 blocks down to the tote in Hunter Street, go take my bet. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm talking to the chick at the counter. Anyway, I get my swing on, I get my little slip. Off I go. Obviously, don't listen to the racing wasn't on TV in those days. Anyway, I go back the next morning and Wayne says to me, you win. I said, what are you talking about? He says, it won. It paid 12 rand or whatever. So I got 120 bucks, raced over, ran, jogged the whatever it was to Hunter Street, collected my slip. And geez, I was hooked after that. Anyway, so I did a bit of traveling and went overseas. And anyway, I come back and a mate of mine, Sally's got her father's opening up a McGinty's in Joburg. And anyway, he's got dartboards in the corner, and this guy, I'll call him Rod, he's a mate of mine today still. I met him that night. He's got a girlfriend in the area, lives a mile away, a long way away. Anyway, I see him stop his darts, and he's watching the cricket, and he's got his pen and his paper out. I said, what are you doing? This is like 1996. He says to me, I'm spread betting. I said, what is that? What are you on about? He goes, I'm 10 rand a run long on this, whoever was playing that night. Hell, the Oak made like 600 rand. He got it right by 60 runs. Couldn't believe it. Absolutely loved it. All over it. Got involved. Another little racing story. That same girl, Sally, her father dragged me down to Turfentine one Saturday afternoon. But instead of sitting in the crowd, we sat in the middle of the track, so the inside of the track. And we right by there was a little bit of I think it was a tight window or whatever it was. But I said to him, so what are we betting on this race? I don't know anything about racing. He goes, are we waiting for the call? One of the guys is going to let us know. Anyway, we didn't get involved in race 1. Race 2, guy tells him whichever horse is going to win. Sure enough, the horse wins. I don't put any money on it. 2 minutes before the 3rd race, he comes with another number. This one shits in as well. So now I'm hooked. 4th race, I'm starting to level out, giving him all the money. And yeah, I think we ended up winning about $200 that day. I don't know who his source was or whatever it was. But yeah, those are three things for me happened at different years, and seriously got me involved. I got involved in, you would remember super spreads, super bet,
yes.
Super bet, or whatever they were called at the time. And anyway, I had my mate over from Australia. We're sitting in the flat. We're living on the beachfront in Durban. And I'm trying to win this thing. They had, I don't know if you remember, they had 3, they were trying to introduce spread betting. So this is like 1998, 1999. Yes. You had to phone in on the Saturday morning. And Debbie and myself, my wife, had just got a cell phone. So I've got my mate from Australia on the Telcom phone, phoning the studio number. I'm on my cell phone, and we're doing this every week. He was over here for about 6 weeks. Eventually, we got through. He called the shirt numbers that I called total points on the game. Anyway, I won. I think it was 1,500 rand. That Ike phones me. It was Nico Kritsiotis actually phones me. He says, you got an account? I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I'd only had the odd cash bet. And so he says, listen, by law, we're not allowed to put this money in your account. We have to pay you into a bank account, but you can open an account, and I open up account. Anyway, a few weeks later, I'm shipped off to Mozambique. I'm working over there with a mate of mine, James Dallas. And every time he's a rugby player, so he's playing for the Komati-Poort rugby team. So every Tuesday night, we're out of Mozambique into South Africa. And every time I got onto that, it was an 0800 number. So every time I got onto a Telkom phone on the side of the road, I'd phone in my spread bets for the weekend. Anyway, needless to say, in those days, we used to get taxed 12%. So if you won $100, you actually won 88. Anyway, at the time, they changed the sports betting to 6%. I think it was around about 1998, the end of 1998. And they left horse racing at 12%, and they left the sport, changed the sport to 6%. Anyway, they made a mistake on my account, and they've been charging me 12% for like 3 months. And I was a R1 punter, R2 punter, R3 punter at the time. Anyway, it worked out to about $300. So I phoned in the one day, and I said to the woman, listen, I think there's something wrong with my account. You're not charging me 6%. Spoke to her for about 10 minutes on the phone. She says to me, yeah, you're 100% right. And anyway, I say to her, listen, every time I phone, because in those days we didn't have internet sites, we're phoning in our bets. And I used to feel like a bit of a mug. I'm phoning in and I'm speaking to top traders, and I'm going, give me one rand a point and 2 rand a point. It was crazy. Anyway, so I said to this woman, how do you get it? That sounds like a nice job to get involved in. How does that work? She says, send me a CV. I've never used a computer in my life. I'm 28 years old. I say to my wife, you can send an email. She says, I'll send an email. She sends my CV off. Anyway, apparently they'd interviewed 500 people for this. Received 500 CVs, interviewed about 80 people, and I was one of 3 people that got a job. But the point of the story here is actually it was 1999 when Manchester United won the treble. So I get the chick phones me up from Superbet. So it's actually multi-choice. She says to me, you need some help getting to the interview. It's on Thursday. I said, I don't need any help. I'll drive up there. I'll be there by lunchtime. So the chick says to me, do you know where we are? I said, yeah, you're in Joburg. She says, no, we're in Cape Town. I said, all right, I need some help, please. Sends me a plane ticket, organizes me a hire car. Anyway, I get in the car, go down to multi-choice in Cape Town, and there I meet Brendan O'Connell. Brendan O'Connell and Jason Foster. They interviewed me. There were 2 other people. There was an HR woman and one of the CEO guys. Anyway, I'll tell you what, Brent, I don't know if you've been to interviews in your life. I've been to a few of them. That interview lasted an hour and a half, and I don't think I got anything wrong. They asked me all sorts of sport questions. I'm good with maths.
Well, Brendan's kind of come in on the live comments now, so you can let us know.
I'd like to know what he thought of me that day. Anyway, so they give me a job, and here I am in Cape Town, and I tell you what, Brendan O'Connell, what a character. Absolute gem in the interview, great guy. And I'm sitting in the office, my first day, I start on the Tuesday morning, I arrive in a tie. First thing he says to me, take a tie off, pulls it off my neck, off goes the tie. So we're sitting in the office. Now we're in the fixed odds department. So they've got a spread department, a racing department, and a fixed odds. Sitting there twiddling my thumbs. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, he says to me, he says to me, my brother's got 4 sticks on this horse. I go, what's a stick? He says, it's $1,000. I said, oh, okay, 1,000 rand. Jeez, I think the biggest bet I'd had before I walked into that office was like $50. So that was huge. Now this guy's got 4,000 rand on a horse. We watched the horse race. Horse wins. It's a favorite, I think, even money or whatever it is. Guys, it's easy, he says to me. It's all right, cool. And got on, and it just went from there. And I worked at, that became Atlantic Sportsbet. I then worked a bit with Global Trader doing some futures trading in Joburg. And then I went off to Marshalls. I was there for about 8 years, and I'm at Hollywood now, and I've been there. I'm in my 8th year now. I've completed 7 years already.
Right. Well, I want to take you back to your Marshalls days, because I started years ago. I used to follow, what was it, Betting Zone, Sporting Life Betting Zone. And I said, gee, South Africa need a website. And in fact, I started it because Brendan and I have been mates for many years. We actually met in 1994 at a gym when I saw an odd sheet in his hand for the World Cup in 1994. And the 2 of us, we'd never spoken, and we sat at the table and we scoured over and we saw all the easy money. Needless to say, like Spain drew to South Korea in the opener and we were done, But Brendan and I actually started a website called Sports Review, and we used to write previews, a lot like Goodforthegame does now. We didn't have a forum and that. And I wrote one of my first previews I did. It was the end of 2005. I wrote a preview on the Nedbank Golf Challenge. And I said, and in those days, bookmakers tended to have a bit more of their own opinion, if I can put it that way. I think there were only 2 online bookmakers. I think Sportsbet may have been online, and then there was like Betting World, Hilton Hassan was with Betting World at the time. They were advertising with us, and Marshall's World of Sport were advertising. And I did the thing, and I arrived at the fact that I liked Jim Furyk a bit. And I looked, and he was 8-1, 8-1, 8-1. Hell, who these guys, World of Sport? They got Furyk at 16-1. So anyway, I tipped the 16-1 in the preview. And then you make contact with me. You say, Furyk's got absolutely no chance. You say, I'm not moving. And your boss, I'm sure, was telling you better move the price. Anyway, long story short, you laid the 16-1. I was plowing into the 16-1. Bookmakers were phoning you for the 16-1. Furyk wins a 4-man playoff and wins. It was one of my biggest wins in golf ever. But I'm sure that's a story you'll never forget, Gav?
Brent, 100%. So that was in the November or December of 2005. So I'd started with Marshalls in April. So we're sitting in around about June or July, and Jeremy says to me, "Geez, what's all this online stuff?" I said, "Ike, you need a website." And he says to me, "Geez, Turfsport, the guys running the software at the time, said this is going to cost 15,000 Rand a month." Jeremy says to me, "Oh, that's a lot of." I said, "Ike, don't worry about it. You'll get the money back. We'll get all these new punters. You'll treble, quadruple your online base, no problem." Anyway, so needless to say, we start the website in July, and he says to me, "I'm not coming in for this late night in-running stuff, and I'm not." In those days, the bookmakers, the clerks used to, or the guys like me, used to arrive at work at 11 in the morning. Used to go home at at 5 o'clock in the afternoon after the last South African horse race. Nobody stayed later than that. If you wanted to bet on a Champions League game or a Super Rugby game late at night, you had to find somebody. They just weren't open. Anyway, Nedbank Challenge comes along. And I've always been a price upper, and I learned that from Brendan and Jason Foster. We used to have meetings in Cape Town, and I still remember my first rugby meeting. I'm sitting there. I'm just a little bit of a punter. I've got a job. I'm a 50 Rand punter. And we're going around the table, and we're talking about the Bulls game that particular weekend. And they come to me, and they say, "What do I think?" I said, "Well, I think the Bulls probably about -5. I wasn't much of a price up. I didn't know anything about it." I said, "Listen, I think the Bulls are about -5. And I made a comment which got everyone's attention, which they absolutely loved. I said, "Listen, you got to take away 6 points." I said, give them -5, but you got to take away 6 points because the crowd don't like them. And I said, now we got the other team as favorite. And I tell you, I had a roar of, not applause, a roar of laughter around the table. And ever since that, they took me seriously. We used to have a meeting on a Wednesday morning, and we used to price up the games. We were obviously the first online at the time. So put the handicaps up. The guys came for them. We moved them a point or two. But yeah, I realized that these people were listening to me, and I did know something about rugby. I just didn't understand. I didn't understand the maths and the rugby, the betting at the same time. And you learn that over time. I mean, nobody gets it first time. Anyway, we get to Jim Furyk. We get to the Nedbank Challenge. So I announced the field in early November, and I look at this and I look at the stats and I do all of this stuff and I start making prices about everyone. And honestly, Brent, out of the 12 guys that are playing, I'm 100% right on 11 prices. I mean, I got them all right. I got 3-1 about this. Like everyone's 3-1. I'd priced that tournament up 100% correctly. Well, 90% correctly. And Jim Furyk, I go, there's no ways this I can win. I looked at him, 20. I got 20. You got 16. I got 20-1. All the guys came flying in for me. Now I got to tell you, in 2005, Brent, we're standing this like on day one by the start of day one, 250,000 Rand. Now that's huge. Any bookmaker in South Africa tells you now they were standing stuff in 2005 at 250 grand. They're talking rubbish. That was massive money in those days. And we were limiting people. We weren't limiting their accounts. We were limiting what they could have of Jim Furyk. We're standing Jim Furyk for 250 grand. I don't think there's a single oak that's got more than 5 grand of him. I mean, there might have been 1, 2 of Jeremy's mates or whatever that got a bit more. But honestly, everyone got their 5 grand chop. There's like 100 oaks on this. We've laid other players as well. Anyway, after day one, I'm sitting there. I'm new there. I'm only 6 months in this job. I'm sitting there, and this oak's trusting me. I'm his new sports oak. I'm the price up. I'm the new gem in the company. Sitting there, day one, Jim Furyk's got -6. He's leading. So Jeremy, on his way out at the last race of the day, similar time to the end of the first round, looks at the TV, looks at me, he goes, "This doesn't look like a 20-1 shot." I said to him, "Don't worry, Jeremy. Ike won't win the tournament. He won't win the tournament. You've got nothing to worry about." Off we go. I can't remember what the score on the second and the third day was. But I tell you what, we watched that playoff Darren Clark put the ball in the bunker and the other eye pushed it past the hole. And then Jim Furyk chipped in from off the green. I'll never forget that chip. That chip lasted 5 minutes. That ball rolled for 5 minutes in my life, I promise you. It would have been 8 seconds for everybody else. But anyway, I'm going to tell you one more story about that. So
I must tell you, I ran around the house fist pumping after that one.
Yeah, you must have. 3 years later, I'm sitting with one of South Africa's biggest punters at the time. I won't mention his name. Anyway, I pick him up at the airport. He's got to go down to one of the bookmakers in Durban. I won't mention his name either. We were going to his 2 million rand Morningside house in the early 2000s. Massive money, this guy. And my mate tells me, listen, you got to sit over here, have coffee with a wife, and have some small talk. I need to do some business in the back room. He got on something. I don't know what it was, but he came out. I was giving him a lift to the airport. Comes out of the room and he's suddenly got this massive bulge. It's like the middle of summer. He's wearing this big jersey and he's got these big bundles of 20,000 rand, whatever. He's got like 300,000 rand on his belt walking out there. He'd hammered this bookmaker. But anyway, the guy says to me, what's your name again? I said, no, I'm Gavin. I'm from Marshall's. He says, Marshall's? Jim Furyk. He tells me he got his 5 grand. He says he couldn't believe it. He says, he was fielding phone calls for like the whole day or whenever we started the betting. Yeah, needless to say, we did go down to 8-1 eventually, but we were in massive trouble for him. We ended up losing over 200,000 on him. And I tell you what, my boss didn't talk to me for 3 days after that. He was not happy.
I'm sure he wasn't. But, Shane making the point that was, gone are the days in a way that the bookmakers had an opinion. And I think that's what made it so exciting in the early days. It wasn't just feed. I mean, I remember betting on cycling, where you could really get some value because the guy was pricing up, may not have known that much about cycling, whereas now you're getting like actuaries that are pricing up on these things and spitting out the odds. And it's definitely become a bit tougher to make money. But certainly golf betting, Gav, I mean, just to lead in, and we'll touch on all of your points, but to lead into another story, and Brendan, I'm pleased you're on the line because Brendan will remember this story very well. Now, I don't know how you got the account of you were overseas at the time if you're betting, but bottom line is at some point you had a Betfair account. And you came to me and you said, Brent, listen, I've been doing this for a few weeks. All I want to do is make 5%. We're going to have, let's just say, a starting pool of 10 grand. I just want to make 5% each week. So it's going to go from 10 grand to 10,500. The next week, we're going to take the 10.5. We're going to grow that from 3 to 5% and so on. And you gave me this lovely theory about how we were going to have this long-term investment. You said, come, let's get other people involved. So, of course, Brendan got involved. I got involved. I went to people at work and I said, there's one lady at work, she was a bit interested in betting. I said to this lady, no, man, this is the theory. I said, this is going to be a long term, but we're going to make 3 to 5% per week. And if you work it out over a year, you're going to be cruising. Oh, yeah. Yes, 500 rand. I had about 3 or 4 investors put 500 rand with me. Brendan and I put a couple of grand and we go in there. I'll never forget, you were so excited. You gave me login details, everything like that I could watch. And then I started, we watched the first day, everything was okay. And it was the NEC Invitational. I'll never forget because I think Tiger Woods had won it something like 6 times in a row. Yeah. But he had a bad first round. And you had effectively, I discovered the next morning when I woke up at the end of round 2, you had effectively decided Tiger wasn't going to win that tournament and you took the entire bankroll and you laid Tiger. and then you went to bed because you didn't have a DSTV at home, okay? I didn't know that. And then you woke up in the morning and I went onto the Betfair account and all I saw was green. But Tiger Woods was red, am I right? With that Tiger would have been red. Tiger was leading by 3 shots after round 2 and he'd gone odds on like 4-10 or something. And of course, you went on to win the tournament. And I went back on the Monday to work and I gave everyone their money back. I said, no, the guys decided not to do it. But it's one of those memories which your theory was brilliant. But at the time, it was just like one slip and everything went. But the real thing I laughed at was the next week, you actually phoned me and you said, will you reinvest? I said, yeah, not a bloody chance. But anyway, what do you remember of that one? I mean, for me, it's a great story. I love telling it, and it's just great memories.
Yeah, Brent, listen, look, there's Ikes that'll watch this show and they know that, I've cost them money and I've also won their money. There's a lot of Ikes that'll watch this show. And look, the reality is we don't win every bet. And as much as you lost money there, I probably did about 20 grand on that Untitled that golf. And I know a mate of mine, Mark Franson, he at one point he was up a few million rand in his trading. He's a professional trader on the stock exchange. And he also got involved with a couple, I think also about 10 or 15 grand, also did his money. Look, the reality is those are school fees. If I look back in my time in the late 90s and early 2000s, I wasn't a clever hiker. There's no ways. I had some maths ideas and I had some stuff and some things went my way. But honestly speaking, between 1990 and 2010, I did my money. I lost money. Probably did, I don't know, 50 grand in total over all the years. Got into a bit of debt. I even gambled sometimes, Brent. I'd put 10 grand on a fucking horse I didn't even know anything about. I did that kind of thing. And I woke up, I got clever, I got discipline, got money management. I met a few people that I won't mention their names, but did change the way I look at betting. And I got to tell you, since 2011, I haven't had a losing year. And some years have been good and some years have been very good. But I also live well above my means. I pay a lot in school fees. I live up, and most months I start at a minus. I have to end up punting to make it up. I have borrowed money from people. A lot of oaks will know. They'll watch the show. They always get their money back. Yeah, I'm just one of those people. And that I used to sit on Sunday nights and I used to lay Tiger. And let me tell you, I used to hate that. Okay, he'd start tournaments at even money, 9 to 10, 12 to 10, and I'd think, this is ridiculous. He's playing 150 people, and what would happen is Sunday afternoon America, Sunday night for us, those oaks would just crack, all of them. You can ask, I've never met any else, but if I meet him, I'm going to have to give him a punch to start proceedings because, geez, that I could never beat Tiger. David Duval, I remember all these guys. They couldn't beat Tiger Woods, and Tiger Woods used to wear that red shirt. And I tell you, I've made a bit of money back in the last couple of years on Tiger. Nothing like what I lost on him. But look, I was probably more of a gambler than anything else in those days. Today, I'm not that gambler anymore. I will have the odd bet, but there's no ways I gambled like I did in the 2000s. I had enough money. I wasn't paying massive school fees and rents and bonds and stuff. I had the money to blow. It didn't matter to me. If I lost 5 grand, I really didn't care. Moved on. Next day, it didn't matter to me.
Well, look, Brendan made the comment earlier. He said you were excellent at maths. That came across in the interview. And that's why your golf theory that you told me, and I actually, if I look at that, it was just unfortunate. What happened there was you just made one error. You went to bed. You weren't sitting there actually physically trading. But to me, I mean, I could see that you could do it, and you had the theory, and you had, and probably in a different situation, if you were sitting up all night watching the golf, you never would have got into that situation. But even as I look back at it now, I mean, you could tell I laugh when I tell the story. It's just a great story. And you know what I mean? It's like when you tip Gavin and I tip and that sort of stuff. If guys want to follow you,
yeah, absolutely,
that's their issue. You're not charging them for it. If I come to you and I'm investing in your thing, and I mean, Brendan will know, he also got me in a horse racing thing once where we also ended up going belly up. Hey man, we all take our chances. If it wins, we happy. If it loses, so what? As you say, school fees type of thing. And just for me, honestly, great memories of that sort of time. And just one of those things. It's a story that I'll never forget. And one day when I write a betting book, and maybe we'll use the content of this for the book, that's definitely one of them that will be going into it. But Tiger Woods, I mean, he was just phenomenal in his day. And I used to see those prices, even money 9 to 10, and think, surely not. I mean, you can't take him at those prices, but somehow or other he used to deliver more times than not. Gav, just looking at your spreadsheet here, Excel sheet, have you touched on that?
Yeah, so back to super spreads. So my wife's she's got a job, she's got a computer, late 90s. I haven't worked on a computer yet. I worked on on a system at the bank. I used to work at the bank, but nothing much I didn't know anything about the internet or email or anything. Anyway, so my wife sees all these bets I'm having a weekend, and I'm writing them on a piece of paper. She comes home with this Excel sheet, Brent. A page for rugby, a page for cricket, a page for soccer, columns of how much per point and what the level was unbelievable. I say, I know there's a lot of guys out there that don't get a buy-in from their wife. My wife got involved from day one. She obviously saw that I had some sort of an idea of what was going on, even though there were many years of losses to come before the profits started arriving. But I was amazed. I used to boast. I used to take my it was on a flip folder thing. I used to take it to work and show, like, check what my wife made me. This is fantastic. Came from a computer. Couldn't believe it. Today I'm an Excel pro. In those days I didn't even know Excel existed.
Just a welcome to some of the boys on Facebook. A good mate of mine from school, Kevin Spector, he's there in America, saying it's a nice distraction from the So zombie apocalypse, I can never pronounce.
The zombie apocalypse might still be coming.
That's it for sure. And Brendan suggesting that a book, between all of our stories, and Brendan will definitely have to have you on the show sometime. We certainly do have some ripper betting stories.
I'm going to tell you a quick story about Brendan. So we're sitting there. I can't remember the test match. I think it's India against Sri Lanka. Anyway, we come in early in the morning. We trade in the game and it starts raining. So we're sitting there and there's nothing to do. It's just raining. And then I said to Brendan, "What are we going? Are we going home? Yeah. What are we doing? I've got no kids. I'm going now. I want to go out drinking or whatever it is." He says, "Yeah, look, we'll go play some putt-putt," he says. So now we're in Greenpoint by the lighthouse. So we go down to the little putt-putt course there. And anyway, we're standing on the first tee, and he goes, how much are we playing for? I said to him,
"That's Brendan, all right."
I said to him, "What are you talking about?" He says, I'm not swinging a club unless there's money on this course. I'll tell you what, we played 4 rand a hole. We played 4 rand a hole, then it was 8 rand a hole, then it was 16 rand a hole for the last thing. I think I lost 65 bucks or 64 rand or whatever it was. But he taught me a lesson. I remember one day sitting at work going, "I think it's going to rain today." Brendan was the first guy going, "It's going to rain before 6 o'clock. I want a price." And I tell you what, Brendan taught me to make prices. You can't stand up in the office and say, this is going to happen or that's going to happen unless you're prepared to put money down. And today at nearly 50 years old, I see guys making claims all over the place. Say, "Right, give me a price. I'll have a go with you." So I'll bet on anything. And Brendan, honestly, I look up to you. You were my first boss in this industry, as was Jason Foster. Jason Foster, very maths clever, knew what he was doing, very good punter, and I learned a hell of a lot from these guys, and I wouldn't be the Oak today if it wasn't for the two of you, I can tell you that.
Yeah, well, Brendan and I always go way back, and I mean, Kevin, who's actually watching on the show, will remember playing squash against Brendan, and Brendan, when he was playing you sport, had an annoying habit when he was beating you of giggling like a schoolgirl. But it used to really get under your skin. And my mate Kevin was playing Brendan squash once. I don't know if they probably didn't have money in the game because Kevin wasn't much of a punter. But he actually stormed off, swearing off the court. He couldn't play Brendan. But I like to think, and Brendan can confirm this, that I dominated him in sport over the years. But the night before my wedding, I went to the Randburg waterfront with Brendan to play putt-putt. And I was a nervous wreck because I was getting married the next day. And Brendan, you cleaned me up. I remember I was 5 putting from like 3 feet. And I'll never forget when you mentioned the putt-putt, it reminded me that Brendan absolutely clean me up in those days. But yeah, great punting memories of Brendan. I'm looking forward to having him on the show as well. Just having a look down your list here, best punter Nadal fed. What is that all about, Gav?
Okay, so I'm not going to mention his name. He knows who he is. I've told him already. I've met the 3 or 4 best punters in South Africa. Well, in my opinion, so my scorecard. Anyway, the best punter in the country. An absolute gem, knows what he's doing. I've had a few beers with him. He's great, and he's made a hell of a lot. And I've made seriously a couple of 100,000 rand over the last 10 years. This guy's made millions. He's fantastic. Every bookmaker will know exactly who I'm talking about. Anyway, he phones me up. He says to me, "Nadal's playing Federer later." I said, "Yeah." He says, "You got the wrong price, Nadal." So Nadal's gone like 7 or 10. We got 9 to 10 the pair. Nadal's gone 7 or 10 everywhere else in the world. So, of course, I go, and I know that he's good. So I go, instead of 7 or 10, I go 6 to 10 Nadal, and I go 12 to 10 Federer. He says, "I'll take 5 grand a Federer, please." Of course, you got to lay the bet. You've called the price. Yes, you got to lay whatever it is. But he was so good. I could phone up, and I'm going to give you 2 other stories quickly. So we got this punter. He actually worked at Boland Rugby. So Boland are playing the Bulls. It's a Friday 3 o'clock game on Friday afternoon, Curry Cup. Ike phones me up, and he's I don't know, he's like a 300 rand punter. Phones me up. He says to me, "What's the Boland plus today?" I said to him, "It's 26.5. He says, "I'd like 3 to 33, please. 3,000 to 3,300. I said to him, "What? You're a 200, 300 rand punter." He says, "Have I got a bet?" I said, "You got a bet." I said to him, why so much money? He says to me, "I'm standing on the field. I can't see my feet. There's so much water on the field." Needless to say, I moved the handicap from 26.5 to 18.5. The rest of the country are sitting in the 20s. They did their balls on that game. We laid so much balls minus that we ended up making, I think it was also a couple of 100,000 rand on the game. And that was at Marshall's. And Jeremy says to me, "Should we cancel this guy's bet?" I said to him, "Jeremy, he gave us the information that won all that money. I don't care about his 3,000 rand. And there was another one. Also, I won't mention his name. He was a head Forex trader at Stanenbeck at the time. I've never met him. I've only spoken to him on the phone. In fact, I think I may have met him once. Anyway, he's a golf punter. He's a 500 punter. Nedbank Challenge 2001 or 2002. I can't remember which one it was.
Sergio, must be Sergio.
Right. I can't remember who won, but it was the Friday morning. So they played the Thursday round. Friday morning, he phones me up in the morning. He says, the pairings have just come out. We put the betting up. He says to me, who's Darren Clark playing? I said, he's playing John Houston. He says, what price is John Houston? I said, he's 11 to 10. He says, give me 55 to 5, please. 5,500 to 5. I said to him, but you're a 500 punter. He says, have I got a bet? I said, you got a bet. I said, why? He says, I'll tell you later. Sure enough, John Houston beats Darren Clark. End of the day, I phoned him up and I said to him, but you've got to tell me, what was all this? He says, he was in the pub, 4 o'clock in the morning, Darren Clark still drinking and having cigars. He said, no ways he's playing golf. So those are 2 examples of what finance would call insider trading. But
yes.
Yeah, if you want to put yourself in that position, you get in your car, you drive over there, you're going to get that information. You want to know what the borderline pitch is like? Get in your car and drive there, or phone somebody. In those days, yeah, we had to, you let the guy win the money and you make money off the rest of it. You just change your price.
That's it. I see you got another thing here talking of price 1 to 50 Pakistan. What is that?
Oh, one of my favorite ones, though. So I'm brand new at Atlantic Sportsbet with, was only Brendan and myself in that office. This guy phones in, Pakistan are playing Bangladesh in the 1999 Cricket World Cup. Ike says to me, what's my balance? I said to him, it's 613 Rand. He says to me, what price is Pakistan? I said, they're 1 to 50. He says, 650 Rand. He says, just put it all on. I said, that'll be 13 Rand to 650. He says, I'm stealing from you. Bangladesh won that game that day. I tell you, I laugh, but that's just an example of a lot of people thinking they can steal. And you would remember your little thread on the forum that you had of tracing the short prices, and it all ended on the 1 to 50 Lions losing to the Falcons that night.
To the Falcons or the Pumas? I mean,
yeah, Leopards or Puma, one of those arbitrary teams. Yeah, it was a 1 to 50 shot. I remember that.
The thread was called was something to do with buying money, and I took 1,000 Rand, and I said, I'm doubling this.
And you got up to $1,000. You got up to $1,000, or just under, and you lost it.
It was a Friday night. I'll never forget. I was away at my annual Dikalolo weekend, and at the first game of the night, I won whatever price it was. And it was all literally I would have doubled the money. And I mean, I'd had some close shaves in tennis where I'd taken 1 to 20 shots that I was just lumping on short prices. And then the Lions that night got rolled at home. They were about 25-point favorites. And
I think everything was gone. Or something. It wasn't even close. They were
and then I learned my lesson that you can buy money once or twice, but eventually that 1 to 50 shot or that 1 to 10 shot is going to get rolled. It happens. Yeah. And you that's certainly one of those memories I won't forget as well, that thread, because I think a lot of people are following it thinking, geez, we can really make money this way. And then, of course, they saw it go up. Next one you got your Gav, Italian odds on the draw.
Oh, love those. In the 2000s, I'm going to go back 2005, 2006, 2007. In the last 2 weeks of Italian football, they got draws at 7 to 10, 8 to 10, 9 to 10. And I remember Jeremy saying to me, what is going on here? I said to him, it's obviously fixed. I don't know too much about it. Internet's still quite new at the time. We start doing a little bit of research. And the forums Oaks are writing all over in different languages how these draws are fixed. There were three all games where it was 3-1 at 90 minutes, and suddenly the other team gets 2 penalties, and it's 3-all, and they're done. Anyway, so the one Oak in the office, and he says to me, there's no ways. He says, this won't be a draw. This team is much better than the other. I said, right, you can have a bet if you like. I said, give me a bet on the draw. He says, you can have 70 to 100. I said, right, I'll take it. Anyway, needless to say, it was 0-0 at the end, and he doesn't pay me. So I tell Jeremy, works for us at Marshall's. So anyway, the Oak resigns. So Jeremy goes off to payroll. Well, there was only one woman at the time. He says, take the 100 Rand off the Oak salary. He puts it on his payslip. Italian draw, Gavin. I tell you, we used to love those. We used to put them in multiples, and I did it as a joke with a lot of people. I said, listen, there's a game today. I want to back the draw. And I used to get even money off 7 to 10 and 2 to 1 off 12 to 10. I tell you what, those things arrived better than Robert Mugabe in a Zimbabwe election. Those draws just arrived every single time. It was unbelievable. All fixed.
Now, Gav, I'm going to bring up another story. We had a quick chat before the show. You said you don't actually remember this one, but I just want to give guys the feeling of how passionate you are when you're onto something and you've got a theory. And I can't even remember the details, but it was going back many years. It was in the early 2000s probably, and it was South Africa were touring India. And if I remember correctly, you had a theory about one of the South African opening batsmen that he was going to struggle on the Indian conditions and go low on the first wicket, and you harped on about this for a few days. I mean, my wife was getting like, who's that guy messaging? Yeah, it's Gavin. He wants to know the price has moved, this and that. You're absolutely passionate. Anyway, I'll never forget, 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm lying in bed sleeping, but I hadn't switched my phone on silent. Sure as nuts, the phone starts ringing. My wife sits up in bed. She thinks like our family members popped off or something like that. She panics. She says, who the hell's phoning at 5 in the morning? I look at my phone. I said, you're not going to believe this. It's Gavin Cone. A wicket must have fallen in India. And sure as nuts, that's what had happened. And you were flipping up there and you were saying stuff this. I'm going to phone the guy at 5 in the morning. And just another memory that I'll never forget because you were just so passionate about it. And as it happened, you were spot on. But to phone me at 5 in the morning, whoa, gee, it took me a while to get on the good side of my wife again after that. But just another good memory I've got of the two of us. But talking of wives, Gavin, you got something here that says salary shocks. Now, I know this story, and I really enjoy it, so I'm going to leave it to you.
I think this was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. Anyway, so it's the 25th. It's Friday. I bank at Bidvest, so my money only gets into my account at about 9:45 at night. And Jaguares are playing the Sharks, and they're -6.5. And I make this a 20-point game, mate. I've told you Oaks already on my video on Thursday or Wednesday that I'm going massive here. So anyway, my wife gets paid on the 25th. So we're sitting there after dinner, Friday night, 7 o'clock. I said to her, how much money have you been paid? She says, I've been paid. I said, just send your salary over to me, please. She says, what are you doing with it? I said, I'm getting on this -6.5 Jaguares. She says to me, well, how much you put out? I said, Debbie, I'm putting a lot on now. We're pushing the chips and we're going all in here. So she says to me, oh, I don't know about that. Anyway, so after a bit of convincing, she sends the money to me, transfers it to me, and I stick it on now. I tell you what, my wife, she watches Sharks games. She watches the Odd Lions game if they're in the afternoon. She's snoring on the couch by 9 o'clock. I tell you what, Brent, she didn't miss a minute of this game, mate. Absolutely watched every second of it. It's Shatton. I didn't even take the 6.5. I took the 12.5 at 2-1. And I think they won by 15 or 16. At one point, I'd gone below my line, above the 6, but below the 12 and bounced back again afterwards. I tell you what, yeah, you need to be a convincer. But yeah, listen, sorry, one more thing. My wife and my kids have absolutely benefited from all of the money that I've won over the years. I always remember my younger son's got autism, and I always remember the story. We're in the shopping center the next morning, and my younger says, we're just piling up the trolley. It's a Sunday morning. My younger son says, why is Dad filling up the trolley? This is not something he sees that often. And my older son goes, he won yesterday. I actually, just to touch on that, I mean, I miss the days when the kids were young and, when I had a nice win, I'll take friends out to supper, we'd go away for a weekend. These days, I have a nice win, I draw it out, it just gets swallowed up into the black hole that is your expenses, I used to, that's why I enjoy playing poker these days, because if I win at poker, it's cash. And it's like, obviously if you lose at poker, it's cash as well. But if you win at poker, it's cash. And that's how betting used to be for me. Hey, Gav, I want to run through some questions that Brendan's answering. You can give us some answers here. Do you miss trading? I do, Brendan. I did enjoy it, but again, it's massive discipline. You would know that, Brendan. I mean, especially with racing. I want to go against every favourite in every race, and it doesn't work that way. You've got to do a bit of research into it and pick your favourites properly. I mean, yeah, I do a bit of betting with Brendan, gets on for me occasionally. And, I've been using Matchbook up until a couple of months ago. You need a bit of money, though. You can't go into these things with $1,000 or $2,000. You need your 20s or 30s. And right now, the family or the expenses need the money. I don't even have it. I mean, I just bought a car recently for my wife. Ended up spending $35,000 on it, so it took a massive dent into whatever sort of fund I had. I do miss trading. And, especially on the stock exchange. I used to love that. I used to get involved in futures, and I did all my JC and futures exams. And I was telling on your WhatsApp group, I was telling Henrik today, I was actually quite a pro at agricultural futures. I realized there was not too many people in South Africa knew what was going on when it rains in the Free State, what that means to the price of maize and all of that. And I studied all of that stuff, and I did quite well with it. But yeah, it's all discipline, Brendan. It really is. When I retire, there's absolutely no doubt that I'm going to be sitting every single day, laying off horses, laying off soccer teams, laying off whatever, and punting the ones I like. I'd rather be the bookmaker. There's no doubt. You're better off as a bookmaker. The odds are in your favor. I'd rather lay a guy 9 to 10, a rugby game or a soccer game. I'm getting 11 to 10 the other side. It's simple maths.
Next question from Brendan. What's your favorite sport to bet on, or at least the best sport to bet on?
Yeah, I've always said to people, if there's a sport that you like, and I wrote on there doozy, and I also wrote, I can't remember the other one, but I remember sitting with my son. He's 17 now. He was 7, 8 years old, playing tennis every week. And the tennis coach used to come on a Monday. He used to tell me how the Oak won, how he knew he was going to win the next day. And you get these guys that will carry on about how they knew the result after the result. But anyway, I set him up an account at Marshall's. Oak was a 5 rand punter. Within 3 months, he'd made 700 rand. Now that's massiff for he didn't have more than 5 rand on a bet. And I said to him, Oak, if you can stick to this kind of discipline and you can really read these tennis matches, because that's one sport I've never been able to read. I can watch an entire match and have no idea who should be winning. I enjoy tennis. I play tennis, but I can't read the body language of the players, or I just can't get a feel for who's doing well. And so I'm not a tennis punt. I'll have the odd bet on Federer in a big match. It's more about the same as a mug might pick a horse in the July by name. That's how I am with tennis. If I like a guy, he's won money for me before, I like the way he plays, or a woman, whoever it is, I'll put a bit of money on. But honestly, I don't spend a lot of money on tennis. Cricket, I love betting on cricket, but I'm absolute rubbish, Brendan. I'm down. Overall, all time, I don't think I've had a winning month on cricket. I get involved in cricket. I hate it. I love it, but I hate it. I can't win at cricket. And cricket T20 has changed the way you look at betting. The way you look at betting on cricket. You've got to go, which team is losing right now? That's the team you have to back, because that's how T20 is. It switches so much. And that goes back to Brendan's trading. If you have your charts and your levels, and you know that when a team hits 12 to 10, it's time to back them. When the other team goes 14 to 10, that side, it's time to back them. You need your charts and your levels, and you've got to be disciplined. When it gets that number, you take it. And the likes of Betfair and Matchbook, you can put orders in, which is great. So you can say, listen, when it gets that level, I want to be filled. I want to get on. And so rugby, let me tell you, you play in-running rugby on the likes of Betfair and Matchbook, you'll get eaten alive. Those guys are sitting in stadiums. They've got a serious bankroll. They put up a price. No one else is putting up a price. If they go a 0.8, someone goes 0.81, they'll snap it up. On the other side, they've got Oak is taking that away, cleaning up whatever's in the way. They want to lay the 0.8, and that price might be 0.9, but you've got nowhere else to get on, so you end up taking it. You're taking it 10, 12, 15% worse, and these guys have got massive money. They don't care about the little Gavin Cones in South Africa. They'll eat you alive, same as tennis. If you go and watch Betfair, how the tennis moves, they 10, 15, 20 seconds ahead. They got Oak sitting in a stadium, tapping his leg, tapping his arm, tapping his whatever. There's Oak in the car park who's trading. You can't beat those guys. Don't get involved. Don't get involved in running at Betfair and Matchbook. You'll be eaten alive. Rather stick to your normal bookmaker where you can have a phone call. I promise you, GG will tell you as well. I've had a few bets with GG Gaming, sorry. I'm happy to have a phone bet. I'm happy to phone the Oaks on a Saturday afternoon and say, what's your handicap at halftime? I don't like to really bet in running in the game. I don't like to catch people on prices. I want to beat them fair and square. I'm just that kind of person. And it's so difficult today. You got to count down, and by the time it's counted down, the ball's back in play. I'm a halftime punter. I'll take my bet at halftime, or I won't have a bet in running. I love trading.
I'm very similar to you.
Yeah, when I'm finished working and retired in a couple of years, I definitely will be doing that every day.
Yeah, I'm very similar to you. I'm not really there looking to catch the bookmaker, but I do like to beat the bookmaker fair and square. And it does disappoint me these days that if you do beat them, that you go. But yeah, here's Brendan's next question. You missed talking to punters, and do you remember Patrick from Cape Town? I guess there's a story to that.
Absolutely love Patrick. Old man, I think he must be dead, because this was like 20 years ago. I think Ike was 80. Anyway, I actually illegally, against all FICA and RICA rules, Brendan, I I took down his address, and when I went to Durban, I actually knocked on his door. He lived in a block of flats in the Morningside area, and needless to say, I never met Ike, but yeah, what a card. He'd keep me on the phone for ages. And I tell you, you speak to Jeremy Marshall today, he'll tell you he wasn't unhappy when I left Marshall's, because I used to chat to the punters. All the big punters in South Africa will know if they had a Marshall's account, they dealt with me. All the big bets came through my desk. I spoke to them. They couldn't have the conversation with their wives, couldn't have the conversation with their friends. We talk about everything: golf, cricket, rugby, soccer, horse racing, whatever it was. I had an opinion on every game. I knew what they were talking about. I'd watched the game. I knew the highlights. I knew the results. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Being at Hollywood, I unfortunately haven't been involved in speaking to punters. I have had different roles. I'm an analyst now. I do forecasting and budgets and all of that stuff. And I love what I'm doing. It's more maths, but it's still in the betting industry. But yeah, I definitely miss the days of picking up the phone. I used to look forward to going to work and hearing about so-and-so's wife and so-and-so's girlfriend and where he went for the weekend and what he was punting on next. Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Another question here from Andrew, who's part of Son of a Punt, of course. Have you ever had to go to the gambling board to sort out an issue? That's a good question, because you often do get disputes, and the advice is always to the guy, go to the gambling board. What do you say to that?
I'm 3-0 down, Andrew. I've lost every one of those cases. Haven't won a single one. The gambling board they're supposed to be independent, and they are independent. And this is just my opinion. But my problem was that they didn't understand betting. They actually didn't understand the punter and the bookmaker. They were just lawyers. They're attorneys. And I tell you, any punter out there that's got a dispute with a bookmaker, or a bookmaker's got a dispute with a punter, go to the gambling board. Those like so as fair as anything. They're looking at it. There's no grey area with them. It's black and white. And I went up against a guy who had a multiple bet, 42,000 to R5. Completely related. Everything was related in this bet, and they awarded in his favor because of the way he explained it to them. And I to this day, I know Jeremy was involved there as well. Jeremy will tell you that I knew what he was doing. I'm 100% convinced that this punter, although he cheated, he didn't know he was cheating. I'm absolutely 100% convinced this guy didn't know what he was doing, and he won. And he took a bet. He thought it was a clever bet. Gambling board, I've not won. I end up arguing with his attorney, because I'm not an attorney. In fact, I actually told Jeremy a couple of times, let's go to the car park and sort this out with our fists, because I'm done with these Ikes and their books and their law terms, and I absolutely hated it. But I recommend it for people who are in trouble. You got something, you got an issue, go to the gambling board. They'll sort you out, and obviously bookmakers as well. They are very fair, but I didn't like losing.
Right, let's have a look at go back to your list now, and we got Keo, the rugby Good Hope FM. Tell me about that one.
So you guys know that I was involved with Keo a little bit with my Oracle Rugby channel, and he'd put stuff on his website, and he wrote a little bit. Anyway, we go back to, 2011. So Marshall's obviously at Marshall's at the time, they're doing they wanted to get quite big in Cape Town. They'd opened a few branches, so they did they'd obviously paid for a bit of content on Good Hope. And anyway, Jeremy had convinced Mark Keone that Gavin Cone was the Ike to speak rugby with him on Saturday morning. So now it's the 2011 World Cup, the Currie Cup finals going on at the time. Anyway, I called the Wales plus against France. I called the France plus against New Zealand in the final. Anyway, I was on a roll. I was literally calling them all right. So the semi-finals of the quarterfinals of the rugby is the semi-finals of the Currie Cup. So the semi-finals of the Currie Cup, the Sharks are playing the Cheetahs. Sharks are -7.5. And the Sharks are playing the Lions, and the Sharks. The Sharks are playing the Lions, and Sharks are playing Cheetahs. Province are playing Lions.
Okay.
Anyway, I told them take the Lions. I'll win the game. Anyway, get to the Free State game. I say to them, you can take +7.5 Free State. Free State start off 13-0. 2 penalties and a try, 13-0 up. Few minutes to halftime. Needless to say, they lost by 7 or they lost by 6. I can't remember what. Anyway, scraped in. But the Lions also scraped in against Province. They actually were laughing at me on the show. So the next week now, it's the semi-finals of the World Cup, and it's the final of the Currie Cup. So first of all, I start off with a joke. South Africa had gone out in the quarterfinals in the 2011 World Cup to the Australians, and So Bucky's Botha and Victor Matfield are in an aeroplane, and they're crying because they're out. So they can't win the tournament. They're gone. And Victor says to Bucky's, listen, there's always the Currie Cup. And if you remember correctly, the Bulls didn't make the semi-finals that year. And that was the first year in about 10 or 12 years that they hadn't. And Bucky's turned around and said, sorry, Butch James turns around to them and says, boys, you're not in the Currie Cup. Anyway, so we get to the final now. So the morning, I believe I find out the Sharks and the Lions are even money. So I get on to Kia, he phones me, I'm like, I've got the last 10 minutes of Good Hope FM on Saturday morning, and there's a woman called Ollie something, I don't know. Anyway, I never got to meet her. This chick, I promise you, wherever she is today, she'll remember that day. She couldn't stop laughing. This is national radio, whatever it is. This chick didn't take me seriously, thought I was an absolute mug, laughing her head off. She says to me, don't tell me you're going for the Lions. I said to him, if you Oaks can get -10, take it. You can get -18, take it. I said, this Lions team will absolutely put the Sharks team away. Those guys had come from the 2011 quarterfinal. They were distraught. They were unhappy. And suddenly they've taken away the decent Sharks team that was there, excuse me, probably would have won the game. But because they swapped in those days, they used to put all the Springboks in the final and take out all the juniors.
I actually remember that game very well, actually.
Those Oaks walked onto the field, those Sharks Oaks, like they'd won the game. And that was Josh Strauss. Josh Strauss shaved his hair afterwards. Tell you what, I made an absolute fortune. I took every minus I could get. And it wasn't because I was a Lions punter. That was completely mispriced, that game. It was all about the Sharks and their Springboks. The Lions had no Springboks. They were absolute rubbish, and they cleaned up. My Currie Cup memory, I've been to a couple of them. That one was my absolute best.
I remember that one actually very well. I also cleaned up. I think I was on Lions shirt numbers, the works in that game. And there was an absolute hammering in the end, Gav, if I remember correctly. I don't remember the final score, but they
won by 20.
Yeah, they won by 20 plus. It was an absolute hammering. And on that note, Brendan asking, do you have a soft spot for any teams loyalty-wise? I think he maybe knows the answer to this. I mean, I think you do bet with the head, but occasionally there are certain teams that take your fancy.
Yeah, Brendan, I find that I more go, rather than teams I like, I actually go against teams I don't like. I think that definitely happens more often. Again, going back to Tiger Woods, I used to lay that like every week. Didn't like him. Didn't care if there was a guy I liked, I'd put 20 or 50 rand on him. But I'd lay the Ike for 5 or 10 grand, no problem, every week. Crusaders. If you look at my net, Crusaders over time, must be down. Must be. I go against them all the time. I don't care who played them. Today I'm a bit more disciplined, but seriously, I would absolutely go against teams I didn't like or players I didn't like.
And Andrew asking, unluckiest bet that you have lost, where you feel like you were just stiffed. Probably, if you haven't thought about it before, sometimes it's quite hard to think about. Anything that stands out?
No, there's a few, and one in particular was I've started to read the book that Chris Sturdy gave me on the bookie punter.
Book, I know that one. Yes, yes.
Cricket one. I've started reading that. I read a little bit, and I saw something quite interesting in there. And a lot of the match fixing that was going on in cricket was with regards to runs in sessions and all that. Anyway, I had a bet on. It was actually on Betfair. They offered at the time. Under overs 160, 170, 180, whatever it was in the session, or 90 or whatever, I don't know. Anyway, I had quite a big strike. I'd watched the first sort of 9 or 10 overs in the game, and it was a massive bet. I had a massive bet by price as well. It was like 5-1 that they'd get over. I think it was 190 or 95 or whatever it was in the session. And they were sitting on like 15 after 10 overs. And anyway, they get all the way to, it was in 10, so it was 90. So they get all the way to 89. And the last ball, the guy blocks. I've been pressing. Now they start, it was a test match. It was just arbitrary, day 4, whatever it was. Anyway, I'm pressing, and I believe I'm right here. Put all this money on, and I'm scoring on my piece of paper, and I'm sitting on 93, and they got 89 on the board here. The scoreboard, cricket info, they've all got 89. I got 93. I'm writing down right. So I've got a 4 that they don't have. Anyway, the last ball of the 30th over, or whatever it was before lunch, the Ike blocks the ball and they don't get the run. Sorry, they ended on 90, so I actually needed one more. It had to be over 90. Anyway, I got into a massive argument with the Ike at Betfair. I went through every single ball. I said to him, and I worked out where I'd got the 4. Needless to say that after tea that day, they changed the result to it being 93. So I was right all along. And they never paid me. And it was a couple of grand. And I say I'm unlucky. It's not because I didn't win, but I should have won. And it was a computer thing. And obviously how Betfair work is they pay the people, they settle there and then. They won't go chasing you for money.
You can't go get that money back. Yeah,
100%. If they change a horse race 3 hours later, they've paid you. You're done.
It's a bit like the podium rule in F1, and even
yes,
I had a cycling Tour de France bet. I had years ago. It was in the mid 2000s. I had like 6,000 to 1,000 Floyd Landis to win the Tour de France, and he wiped out in the one stage. And the next day, after pumping himself full of drugs, he came up and he rode himself back, and he ended up winning it. And he stood on the podium and and it was a local bookmaker, not one of the bigger online presences. And they messaged me to say, no, they're withholding it because you'd obviously tested positive. And I said to them, no, but hold on, podium rule. And ultimately got paid out there. But that was the sort of thing that happened. And Shane, kind of along those lines, is asking, have you ever not got paid out where bookmakers claimed an error, said, no, that was an error, and I suppose not paid you or returned your bet?
Yeah, excuse me, Shane. I've had guys phone me up and saying, so and so bookmakers got the tennis still open. They're in the second set, or they still got. I don't take those. I don't steal. I'm not a price thief. I've already had accounts limited and closed. I don't want any more. You don't want to get involved in that. If you see a wrong price, let me tell you my advice. Phone that bookmaker. Say to him, listen, you've got the wrong price here. You've made a mistake, or you got them the wrong way around. You got a plus instead of a minus. I promise you, Ike's will chuck you 100 or 200 free bet. And when it comes time to limiting you in the future, they'll go, hang on a second. This is the Ike that reminded us about this. This is the guy that told us about. Rather be the right guy. Don't be the thief. Don't take those. I don't take those. And I've had a couple where they've argued with me that the price is wrong. And listen, in horse racing, I've seen it. I remember having a bet with Bet Exchange the one day. The horse was, I think it was 66 to 1 instead of 6 to 1. I backed it. Ike phoned me up straight away. He said, listen, we made a mistake. I said, listen, seriously, I really apologize. That was one of the times that I did do that, not thinking of the ramifications of, I don't want to be the bad guy, but I did it at the time. I don't do it. I've never been to the gambling board to chase anything like that. I did have a situation where one of the bookmakers that's actually closed down recently in the last couple of years opened up. I opened up an account. It was a 5,000 Rand match bet, put the 5 grand in, gave me the 5 grand. I wanted to throw them a couple of mug bets. I took a bet on the soccer match on the Monday night, a couple of horse races on the Tuesday morning. Anyway, Oaks obviously saw my name, realized who I was, said, listen, this guy's limited me to 200 Rand. By that time, I'd lost the soccer bet the night before. Anyway, so we're sitting with a balance of, I don't know, like 7,500 or whatever it was. He says to me, I say, all right, I want my money now. He says, he'll send me the 2.5. I said, no. I've been betting with your money. I want my 5 grand back, please. And that took a month. I got hold of the gambling board in Cape Town. I said, listen, I'm sorry, it's very ambiguous as to whose money who we're playing with. If they think I'm playing with my money, they need to tell me that. I'm not going to put 1,000 Rand on an English football game on a Monday night if it's my money. I don't bet like that. And anyway, I went to I got them a legal-wise letter, and I went to F&B. I'd used my credit card at the time, or my debit card. I said, listen, I want this refunded. I went to him with everything. Eventually, the gambling board said to him, pay the Ike, and he paid me my 5 grand. So I always say to you, go to the gambling board. They're very fair. And I said to the guy, listen, if you've got a list of people's names you don't want to open an account for, you should never have opened the account in the first place. You should never have given me the match of 5,000 Rand. Don't come to me after I've had 5 bets, of which 4 of them are lost, and now I can't do the turnover clause. I want you to turn over 10,000 times 6. I got to do 60 grand, and the Ike's limiting me to 200 Rand a bet. I said to him, it's going to take me 8 years to do that. I'm not interested. Give me my 5 grand back, and we'll call it a day.
Yeah, I had a very similar thing with a bookmaker still in existence now. I haven't obviously bet with him for a long time, but it was similar. I'd opened an account with him. I placed I think it was 5 grand or whatever. It was many years ago to get the match deposit. And then I started betting, and I placed like a 9 to 10 bet on Manchester City in the EPL, and it actually lost, if I remember correctly. And my next bet, I took the Lions outright to win the Currie Cup. Let's just say they were 7-2, and I made them 5-2. And sure enough, they shortened afterwards. The next thing you know, they limited me to $100 or something. So I messaged them. I said, like, what's going on? And the lady came back and she said, no, we see you in the industry, and we worried you might beat us. So I'm like, geez, but you're advertising that you want people to win. And then they said, no, and then I said to them, well, then pay me out. And they said, no, but you got a turnover clause. I said, it's going to take me years to turn it in. Eventually, to their credit, they did pay me out. But I've always kept that email from this lady because I thought it was the most hilarious thing to say, like, no, we worried you might beat us. And I mean, I really, as I'd lost my first bet and it wasn't even looking that strong. Just an interesting one here, Gav. Kamal Chowdhury saying, are you guys worried about any of your long-term bets? Now, I don't have too much running long-term. But before you answer, I will tell you one thing that I've been thinking about lately is our Super Brew pool. The one where everyone's put in $500, because with Super Rugby, I guess the question's going to be asked, what happened? I guess it's going to be null and void, because if they stop Super Rugby, if they don't go back, teams have played different amount of games, and I think the competition will just be scrapped for the year. But it does raise the question, because I'm sure if I was sitting top of that Super Brew pool, I'd be thinking, I wonder if I'll get paid out now. And I guess I'll go with Super Brew. But going now on to the betting things, obviously there's lots of long-term bets. Guys have backed Liverpool to win the title. He's got a Bundesliga bet. Must be quite a lot of guys sweating on what's going to happen. And I can see it's one of these clear as mud type stories as well.
Brent, excuse me. Look, that's you can't. Even the case of Liverpool, and we all know that Liverpool, seriously, there's a 1 in 1,000 chance that they're not going to win. In fact, 1 in 10,000 chance that they won't win. But the reality is they can't award them as winners because they haven't won yet. And
yes.
But I do believe, and I think we're in 2020. We're not the mugs of the 1990s and 1980s. There's too much money involved, too much sponsorship, too much at stake. I honestly think they'll finish the season. Whether it's playing 2 games a week, they'll do it. And the Super Rugby, I think the world's gone mad with this coronavirus. I think they've overreacted by a country mile. And I think that people come to their senses in the next few weeks and go, this is not working. People aren't dying. People are more likely to die of gang violence or being knocked over as a pedestrian in South Africa. In fact, a coronavirus, I don't even think it's a top 10 killer in this country. I don't even think it's in the top 50. It's ridiculous what we're doing. Restaurants are closing. People can't have their, aren't getting their money. The taxi oaks are going to lose out because they're not taking people to work. The ramifications of this to the economy are just absurd. I think somebody's going to wake up one day and go, you know what? Yes, it's nice to be healthy, but the reality is this is just flu. If we give the right medicine, we'll sort out the problem. I'm not at the work. I'm calling it an MCP at the moment. Everybody's under massive corona panic. It's just crazy. Yeah, I think these long-term bets, if the team hasn't won, you're going to get a refund. You won't lose your money. I think the only kind of loss you may incur is if your team, like the Euro 2020 that's been moved to next year. I know that if you'd backed a team that didn't make the 32 or 24 or 20 or whatever the teams are, you've obviously lost. They aren't in. They're going to have the same format for next year. The same teams will play next year. So you're going to lose. But any pending bets, I think most bookmakers will probably offer you to either leave your bet as a 2021 bet or to get a refund. This is unprecedented. So to answer your question 100%, I don't know. But I know that you won't lose your money. You will get a refund or your bet will still be alive.
Right, Gav, let's pop back to your list and something about your wedding day and Bloemfontein.
Oh, my gosh, Brent, this is unbelievable. So I got married on the 1st of July, 2000. Now, Brendan will remember that. It was when the Euro 2000 was on. Our company was a little fledgling company, didn't have a lot of money. And I know that I'm not sure 100% exactly what he did with regards to trading, but it didn't work out our way. Anyway, so South Africa's playing England in Bloemfontein. They lost that game 27-9. I don't know if you remember. It was the 2000, July. Anyway, 1st of July, so it's the week before, or 2 weeks before. I think it was the week before my wedding. We're living in Cape Town. We're getting married in Durban. Anyway, I said to Debbie, look, we'll find somewhere to sleep the night in Bloemfontein. So anyway, we get all the way to Bloemfontein, and of course, there's no accommodation. Absolutely nothing. There isn't even a tent site available. Everybody and his brothers in Bloemfontein for the South Africa England game. And I can't understand why I didn't know this. The whole week I'm pricing up on the game. I'm writing out faxes, telling everybody it's Saturday afternoon, 5 o'clock. Anyway, so we had to push on. It's absolutely freezing. We get through to Harry Smith later that night. We'd gone through a roadblock that made me empty out my little Fiat Uno at the time. It's 1 degree in the middle of Bethlehem or whatever it is. Anyway, we get to the fireplace at Harry Smith. We have a couple of beers and we go to sleep. The next morning, we get to Durban and one of my mates is there. And she says to me, where did you stay last night? I said, I stayed in Harry Smith because Bloemfontein was full. She says, well, I had a room in Bloemfontein. I had 2 tickets to the game you could have used if you'd asked me. So I'll never forget that. Yeah, I didn't even know the game was on. I'd priced up on it. I'd written out on everything. I put the prices in the system. Needless to say, I drove through the town that was there. Couldn't find any accommodation. Spent 3 hours trying to find something, and eventually arrived in Durban for a week before my wedding. Yeah, that was crazy.
Well, I see we've only got a few more points to discuss. I reckon we keep on going. Soweto, Derby, and PSL you've got on your list.
Oh, yeah. So that's another one. So I'm at Jeremy again at Marshall's, and I'm going like, why aren't we betting on this PSL? Now, we didn't bet on it at Atlantic Sports, but again, it wasn't really on TV. It wasn't pushed. In the 2000s, they started pushing a little bit more. Anyway, the Oaks are phoning us up going, I want to bet on the Chiefs-Pirates game. So Jeremy says to me, he doesn't want to do it. It's match fixing or whatever. I said to him, Jeremy, if there's a game in South Africa that's not match fixed, it's going to be the Pirates-Chiefs derby. Anyway, so I come out with a novel idea. I look at a few stats and I say to him, listen, I'm not going to go this 5-2 the draw that they have in all of these games. I'm going to go 15-10 the draw. So I decide I got 2-1 Chiefs, I got 2-1 Pirates, and I got 15-10 the draw. He says to me, I'm a lunatic. I said to him, don't worry about it. I tell you what, we held more money on that game that day than we did on any other English Premier League in 6 months before and after. We held so much money. The draw was an absolute massive, massive winner for us. It ends 1-1, and we get all the money. So now the next game, I go, right, we made the money at 15-10. We're going to go 14-10. Anyway, this is where I eventually met Brendan O'Connell's brother, Dermot O'Connell. So now he's at Hollywood. So I'm talking to him on the phone. We're talking about prices. Now we didn't price fix like you hear all these competition commission stuff. We'd phone each other up and get an idea of how we felt about the game. And if I wanted to go to 12-10, he'd go even money, or he'd go 14-10, or he'd go 12-10 if he didn't really have a feeling on it. Anyway, it came to the Soweto derby, and he's still a 2-1 punter. I'm going, I'm going to take your 2-1. I promise you, Brent, I went one game. I priced up. There were 5 draws in a row. I priced up 8-10 the draw. I went 3-1 Chiefs and I went 3-1 Pirates. We stood both teams for absolute rockets. It was 2-2 that game, or 1-1 or whatever it was. The goal came in the 90th minute or the 87th minute. We had, I promise you, Oaks would phone us on the Tuesday or the Wednesday of the Soweto derby, and they say, "What price have you got Chiefs and Pirates this week?" Because I knew I had the same price. They just didn't know what it was going to be. All they wanted was the big prize. They were obviously arbitraging somewhere else. Right? And I still had mugs taking the draw at 8-10. It was unbelievable. I could put their 10 rands and 5. I couldn't believe it. I wanted to phone these guys and say, well, Brie, go to another bookmaker. They got 5-2. Go take it.
Yeah, that's crazy. But South African PSL, especially the Chiefs Pirates games, maybe not so much over recent years, but I mean, I remember I used to write previews on the game, and you'd have like 9 out of 10 games a draw, and unders on the PSL was unbelievable as well. I mean, you'd have sometimes a whole weekend of unders. These days you get a few more goals.
I want to give you a stat here, and I'll tell you, the Oaks watching the show here, all around the world in South Africa will say, I can tell you right now, English Premier League is the most punted league. It is, right? Rand turnover, every bookmaker, there's more money on English Premier League than anything else. I did a stat in the last couple of years, and what I realized is the English Premier League got 380 games, and South Africa got 206 or 216 or 226. It's a small number. But what I worked out is bets per game and rands per game. The PSL is actually on par with the EPL. So if you look at it, the amount of money per game, because there's less games, and the amount of bets, let me tell you, PSL is not the 8th or 10th biggest punted league in South Africa. It's the second, and it's the first in a couple of categories. And we still price it up, right? We still price that up locally. We don't use the European bookmakers. We've been pricing up PSL for, again, with Marshalls, with Dermot and whoever. We've been pricing up PSL since 2005, and I'll happily price up a game. And I've made a lot of money on the PSL, more laying than punting. But yeah, the South African soccer is alive and well, and ever since Supersport took over, made a massive difference. Everyone thinks it's only Black Oaks that bet on it. Everybody bets, I promise you. Betting is not a race thing.
Well, I can tell you what, any sport like the PSL, if they were playing it now, everybody would be betting on it around the world because everyone's so desperate for action at the moment. Brendan, asking you there, your opinion on horse racing. Gavin, what's happened to it, and what can they do maybe to fix it up?
Yeah, listen, Brent, in the 1990s, I remember going to night racing. It used to be on a Thursday in Greyville, and I also used to go to Newmarket and Joburg for the night racing. And I tell you what, it's the youngsters. You want to get people in there. People don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're betting on. I mean, I've been to the July. There's absolutely thousands and thousands of mugs who are just putting something on there, like a horse's name or whatever it is. The point is, if you make that horse racing fun, and when I say fun, get a couple of pubs in there, get a nightclub thing, get an after party going, get people to come in, and they don't have to bet. Just get them there. Once they're there, they'll find their own way to the betting window. You don't have to force people to bet. They'll find their way. And I tell you what, even today at 49 years old, nothing beats a Friday night at Greyville. I don't have to be in a box. I'm happy to be down at the parade ring, walking around, having a beer in the bar, walking at the course. And you know what? I go there with a couple of $100 and it's for fun. And yeah, if I really like a horse, I might put a bit more. But I tell you what, going to Greyville on a Friday night, you just can't beat it. I loved it as a 20-year-old and I love it as a 50-year-old.
And Brendan, asking, you're obviously in the industry, the future of online gambling in this country, how do you see it going?
I think the future of online gambling is going to be the likes of the bet games and the virtuals and all of that. I think Brendan, Brent, myself, Sean, Henrik, and Han and those guys will be the last serious punters. And obviously there's the very good punters in the country. I think eventually in 100 years' time, robots will be playing each other. I don't think the Sharks and the Lions will exist. I think people are just going to be betting on all sorts of other stuff that is not real, and yeah, it's just going to go towards gambling. It's had its trends. I mean, you've been to casinos. I've been to casinos. You just go and sit there and you watch people. There's no clocks and there's no, you can't see outside. The problem with gambling itself is it is bad. I'm against gambling. I'm against people, and I've been a gambler myself. I've taken a salary or two, and I've gone and blown it on stupid stuff trying to make money. I've been there. I've done that. I'm not an addictive personality. I never went down the road of getting into any trouble. I lost money here and there when I was younger, but you learn your way. I think honestly, the future of betting today, the future of betting, never mind South Africa, the whole world, it's all going automated. They're going to have algorithms for everything that are going to be set by acurists who can't spell Oak's name. There's always going to be a rugby. Well, in our lifetime, there's always going to be something to bet on that we can find. But honestly, I saw camels in Dubai racing with the robot jockeys. If you haven't seen that, go to YouTube and go and Google that. It's the funniest thing you'll ever see. The jockeys won't exist in a few years. They're gonna have non-realistic horses. I remember going to dog racing at Galuli's when I was a kid with my father. And they used to have an actual rabbit that ran around. Then they had a motorbike that pulled something. Today they got this automatic thing that goes around. It's just become computerized. Everything's just become computerized.
Andrew asking alcohol betting when you're under the influence. Obviously, It can work either way. But any stories that spring out as far as having too many drinks and betting?
You know what, Brent and Andrew? Sorry, it's not once. I'm going to tell you, it's more than twice, and it's probably in the early 20s there. Especially you'll know from Super Rugby, it happens more in Super Rugby than anything else. You make your money on a Friday night. You've had your bet early on. There's nothing else to bet on Friday night, so you don't get affected. You wake up Saturday morning, you have a couple more, you're cruising, and then you get that 3 o'clock game in South Africa. And you've had a braai, you maybe beer 1, 2, 3, whatever it is. That's not the problem. The problem is you win that one, or you lose that one for that matter, and the 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock game become very dangerous. I tell you, I've got an absolute rule. I switch my computer off at beer number 2 or at 3 o'clock, whichever one comes first. Saturday afternoon, computer is off. Today I suppose the phone's a little bit more dangerous, but honestly, I make sure that all my money is invested, that there's nothing left. If there is something left that I haven't used, I hit the withdraw button. I don't sit on a Saturday afternoon at 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock with money in a betting account. It's dangerous. It doesn't work. Don't do it. Don't ever go to a casino or racetrack smashed. I go to Greyville. I'll obviously have a couple of beers. By race 3 or 4, I've had my bets for race 6, 7, and 8 or whatever it is. And just don't do it. It doesn't work. You make stupid decisions. Look, like obviously can work for you. You can make a mistake and punt the wrong thing. I mean, I remember taking 50 exactors, thinking I was taking 50 exactors. I actually took it, for 50 rand. I took it 50 times. The thing paid 50 something rand. I ended up winning 2,700. But I realized that I won 8,000 something, or 70 or 80 bucks a pop. It paid out, but I had 2,500 rand in the account. So when I hit the 50 times, the money came off. Only after the race did I realize there was no money in there. So I made a mistake that worked in my favor. But you don't want to be mixing the two. A very good friend of mine, Sandra, her father, a very good horse punter. He lives in Joburg. He goes to the Tate every day and sits. He's retired now, and he told me as well. He said, "Don't ever buy a beer if you're having a bet." I do, but I don't get drunk.
Yeah, I must say I don't tend to drink too much when I bet, although I have made quite a few mistakes in my time, and I can tell you the ratio of mistakes that have gone against me to mistakes that have worked in my favor is about 9-1 out of 10, because it's amazing when I make a mistake, it virtually always ends up costing me. There's been the odd occasion where it has worked out, and certainly when I do the show with Brendan, we'll talk about a few spread betting, and a spread bet I put on for him once, where there was a bit of controversy around it. Yeah, it would have been a absolutely huge swing. Gav, we're very much in the home stretch now. The doozy you want to talk about?
Yeah, so that's another one. I'm happy to price up anything. So doozy 2006 or 2007, again at Marshall's. Jeremy let me price up on anything, so he's great. Jeremy, if you're watching, I'll never forget those days. I loved every minute of it. It was fantastic. Anyway, so the doozy's coming up. And Charles Savage, he might be watching as well. He was doing the doozy that year, and my neighbour saw he had a paddle boat, and he was also doing the doozy. So I don't know anything about the oaks, and I can make a price if you give me information. Anyway, both of them tell me, this guy's got a 50% chance of winning. And anyway, I turn it into prices, and I make I can't remember his name. Anyway, I made him a 5 to 10 shot to win. Second hike I made at about 2-1, and then I had a hike at 14-1. So anyway, one of Jeremy's mates finds up. He goes, the hike at 14-1. He says, I'll have a bit of that, guy. Gives him 20,000 of it. Now, are you pricing up the doozy and the comrades in the early 2000s? This is a fun bet. This is a 50 rand bet. $100. Takes the hike for 20 grand. Anyway, needless to say, I think it's it's not Hank McGregor. It might be Hank McGregor, no? I think it could have been him. Anyway, the hike took the wrong turn, the 5 to 10 shot, took the wrong turn on the portage. He goes around a tree and up a mountain and around. He loses 18 minutes. He's gone the wrong way. The second hike starts getting sick the following day, and this 14-1 hike absolutely shits in by like 3 minutes, and we do our money. He goes, you are not pricing up the doozy again. I mean, I had about 100 bets on that event, of which all of them were 20s and 50s, and there's this hike taking us for 20 grand, murders us.
I must just tell you, Kamal was asking if you priced up on my 10K. The guys were predicting my time. I was running a 10K on the 19th of April. I must tell you that unfortunately, because of this jolly virus,
it's been cancelled.
10K has been cancelled. Although I am going to be running a 10K on that day. That I've committed to. So I'll be running a 10K, but it won't be an official.
You could do it live on Facebook with a thing on your head, a camera on your head.
Yeah, that's it. You guys can follow that. Brendan asking Gav, off the betting topic for a while, what's your favorite meal and your favorite drinking hole? I think I know where your favorite drinking hole is.
I've got a few favorite drinking holes actually. If I'm in Cape Town, I'm at Dixie's in Simonstown. Absolutely love the place. If I'm in Joburg, there's quite a few actually. I can't think of anything specific in Joburg, but there's definitely a few. Here in Durban, you got to go to Stokers if you're up the hill. If you're in Mslunga, you got to go to the George. And obviously my mates down the road here at Platts and Pinto's in Hillcrest. Yeah, I love them. Meals, I tell you what, Brendan, I love cooking. I'm not a master chef or anything. I do enjoy cooking. I do enjoy a fry up, and I do enjoy putting some hot food together. Sorry, that's one more. La Periana, I think it's called, near Turfentine in 6th Street. Absolutely lovely Portuguese restaurant. If you're in Joburg, it's a fantastic place. Used to go there as a student. Even at 49 years old, I'll still go there when I'm in Joburg. Love it. Yeah, I enjoy hot food. So Portuguese food, Mexican food, any sort of wraps, anything you eat with your hand. Pizza. I spend a lot of time eating. A meal can last 2 hours for me. I can drink a beer in a couple of minutes, but I can eat a pizza or a Portuguese chicken over a 2 hour period. I'm a slow eater. I enjoy my time. Enjoy it sitting with friends and family. Love it. I love eating. I always remember that Paraguayan golfer. His name was Carlos. I can't remember his surname. Anyway, they did a thing on the golfing channel.
I know exactly who you mean, yeah.
So they go around to his house on Sunday. So he's got this outside table that seats like 25 people. So the chick says to his interviewing, says, who's this? He says, no, it's just a family. It's the immediate family. And they're having lunch at like 12 o'clock on Sunday. And by 5 o'clock in the afternoon, they're still having lunch at this table. And I thought to myself, that is me. If I had a big family like that, that would absolutely be my house every Sunday. I can sit outside and eat and drink seriously all day long. Love it. And you have to have bread. You have to have bread. Love bread. Fresh bread.
Let's see if anyone can come up with his name, because I just can't.
I lost somebody. I can't remember. It was a Paraguayan golfer. It wasn't an Argentinian. It was a Paraguayan golfer.
Yeah. Hey, couple more to chat about. Gav, you wanted to talk about Hansi Cronje?
Yeah, so Hansi Cronje obviously got involved in all of that dodgy stuff. So Carte Blanche decides to phone us in Cape Town. So I think it was either Brendan or Jason organised the interview. So they come down there, Derek Watts and his team. Anyway, he's sitting there, and like as you know, I'm happy to talk to anyone. So I'm sitting at my desk. They come up to me and they start asking me, so what's going on with Hansi? How does it work? And I'm starting to tell them about all the punters that are phoning up now. They want their refund because Hansi didn't get the runs he was supposed to get. But I tell you what, Brent, I remember a section of about 10 games where Hansi Cronje didn't get 10 runs. And when you look at all of this, what you heard and how that whole commission went on, King Commission or whatever it's called, you got to say to yourself, geez, that was involved in all sorts of stuff. And the kids loved him. I mean, there were things on the internet and TV showing kids pulling Hansi Cronje's post off the wall. And I'm thinking, geez, yeah, Carlos Franco, that was his name. Carlos Franco, yeah. That was the one.
Well done,
anyway, so Hansi Cronje, that game, where they forfeited the innings. So that whole week it's raining in Pretoria. Brendan will remember this. Jason Foster will remember this as well. He's sitting there, and every bookmaker in the world is standing to lose an absolute rocket on this draw, if this draw arrives. Because it's been raining in Pretoria for 3 days. They played the first innings, and there's Hansi Cronje comes out, and he says to Nasser Hussain, let's forfeit the innings. And suddenly, the draw is not 1-2 whatever. It's a runner. And I got to believe that somebody went to that oak and paid him and said, listen, we're in massive trouble here. Fix this result. Because those punters that were on the draw, we made a fortune on that game. We laid ridiculous prices about the draw, 1-50, 1-20, 1-10. They kept coming. The rain was pouring. We were laying bets on it. It was unbelievable. They just kept coming. And Hansi Cronje switched them off in one foul swoop. And if he didn't, I don't want to lay claim to something, but that looked very, very suspicious.
Well, I must say the old famous leather jacket test, I backed England. Obviously not knowing what was happening, I backed England at 7-1 to win that test. So I was actually up at Sun City at the time, and I remember shouting at home. And then, of course, years later, it came out that old Marlon had got him with the old leather jacket or whatever, and it had all been fixed. So it's funny. I mean, obviously, we'd like to think there's very little of that in sport, but I always felt there was a little bit more to it.
It was suspicious. That's all I'll leave it at.
I was pretty suspicious. Tell me about the next one, Nicholas Lawrence.
Hold on, I just want to ask. So that's actually what I was going to say about Shane's question here. So I've met Brian Mitchell, I've met Bruce Fordyce, I've met Francois Pinot. Sorry, I forgot his name for a moment. Yeah, so I've met all of these guys, and let me tell you, I've met that tennis ike. Older than me is about 60 now. The Southern guy that got to the final in Wimbledon. I can't remember his name now.
Kevin Cone,
yes. So this is what I do when I meet famous people. The first thing I do is I go and research them. So I can't remember his name. I think his name is Stuart, is a Zimbabwean cricketer. Anyway, he's at a golf day function. He's at the table. There's a whole lot of oaks there. I'll remember his name in a minute. He ended up commentating on SABC3. So I walk up to the table, and so I say hello to him. So obviously these famous Ikes are a bit nervous. People are coming up into their little personal space. He's got all his friends around the table. So I say to him, you remember your first test match? So he goes, yeah, sort of. I said, can you tell me one thing that stood out in the match? And he's like, I didn't get a lot of runs on it. I said, no, Ike. I said, you were the first Ike on debut. You got Sachin Tendulkar out in the first innings and the second innings. And how did I know that? I got that off the internet. I actually had an Ike at the office. I phoned him. I said, get something for me on this Ike. Come out. I can't remember his name. Stuart something. Anyway, I tell you what, the table of the other 9 Ikes at the table, look at this guy. They look at me and they go, geez, this Ike knows your game better than you. Yeah, no, I love famous people, and when I meet them, I'll have a go. And but I'll come from a sporting background and a punting thing, and I'll tell them a story about how I got involved. I'd love to meet the likes of Ernie Els and people like that. I haven't met people I've really had a bet on before. Anyway, to answer Shane's question, so I'm sitting at the tee box at Atlantic Beach in Cape Town with 2 of my mates, and we're about to tee off, and the Ike's in front of us, and I look at this Ike, and he looks familiar. I don't know what it was about him. Anyway, I said to him, he hits his ball, and he's waiting for his 2 friends to tee off. I go, are you Nicholas Lawrence? He says to me, yes. He looks at me. His 2 friends turn around. They go, okay. I said, bro, you're the Ike that won the Leopard Creek. So he went up against Darren Clark, Justin Rose, Tim Clark, whole of them, and he wins the Leopard Creek in also 2006, 2007, something like that. Anyway, he wins like, I don't know, R500,000. Then he gets an invite into the Daniel in England, and he gets an invite into an American tournament. The Ike basically made 2 million rand in like 6 months. He was an absolute average golfer, just had a lucky round. He was like 100-1 on the Sunday morning. Anyway, so I tell his mates, listen, bro, we won money on this guy. He won us a fortune. The bookmakers, I was working with Atlantic Sports at the time. I think we won like 50 grand on the Ike because everyone had backed Justin Rose and Darren Clark. And these Ikes turned around and said, we can bet on our friend. I said, absolutely, you can take a bet on the Ike. And I don't know whatever happened to him. I never saw his name again, but I tell you what, that was a great moment. His friends were like unbelievably surprised that someone had recognized him. And when they found out that I was a bookmaker, worked for a bookmaker, that was even more scary to them.
Well, I see Brendan's preparing what he calls his last question there for you, Gab. But let's I think the very last thing we wanted to talk about was Brendan and the South African v Australia semi-final in England 1999. I mean, who can forget that final? I'm sure now with no sport on TV, SuperSport are probably showing that game quite a few times, and I'll watch that as little as I possibly can.
Yeah, so I'm new in the industry. I don't know, 2 months. I think I started in April, and we're like in May now. It's the 1999 World Cup cricket. Get into the office. I say to him, how's it, Brendan? What's going on today? Yeah, we got South Africa playing Australia. Okay, cool, no problem. Anyway, couple of 4s or 6s later, South Africa doing well. So I'm going, go South Africa. Ike turns around to me with an absolute death stare. He says, can't you see the book? We want Australia to win. I said to him, I don't know, I'm a South African. He says, Ike, you don't stand in a bookmaker and you shut the team home. You just shut up, sit in the corner and do your job. So anyway, so now Australia starts scoring a few runs a little bit later, an hour later or half an hour, took a couple of wickets. So I'm going, go Aussie. He turns around to me, says, you're not looking at the book, we want South Africa now. And I don't understand what the hell's going on here. This like confused me. I have no idea what's going on. And then at the end of the day, we got to give the money back because it was a draw. A lot of people think South Africa lost that game, but we didn't.
That's true.
It was a draw. So we worked 8 hours. The Ike's looking at me like I'm an absolute clown, talking to me like I'm absolute rubbish. And don't worry, Brendan, no hard feelings there. You taught me a lesson. The point is you can't stand in a bookmaker and shout on a team that the bookmaker doesn't want. Go outside, kick a ball, shout, go to the toilet. Don't do it in the office, especially if they're going to lose money. So that was a lesson he taught me. I learned it very quickly. But I tell you what, I was hell of a confused for those first 2 hours. I don't know what the hell was going on.
Now, Brendan is asking a question there. You got a good story recently with a race meeting where you paused the TV and tipped to make 10 winners in a row.
Yeah, I think you're on that group. You would have seen that as well. So, yeah, 2 Sundays ago, my tennis partner and her boyfriend show up at our house. Anyway, so I told her that during the week, I said, listen, I'm going to get your boyfriend here on the weekend.
So I've seen your tennis partner. Let me just stop you there, Gav. Your tennis partner is a girl.
It's a woman, yeah.
And what is she, 20, 22?
No, she's 30.
Oh,
well, sorry. She's going to have a go at me. She's actually 29, turns 30 in April. Anyway, so she brings the boyfriend over. I met him a couple of times, and I said to her, listen, I'm going to have a go here. So anyway, I go on my racing WhatsApp group. I say, boys, I want a bit of help here. I'm going to pause the DSTV channel 239, and I'm going to pause it for 2 minutes, and you must tell me the next race and the winner, and I'm going to shout it out to the sake. So we're sitting here at this table where I'm sitting now. So anyway, we get home, we were at the rugby at school, we come down, we've had a few beers, so we're nicely sauced up, and we're sitting there. So I call him, I said, listen, we've got a race here. So anyway, the first message comes through for the horse. So I say to him, what? It's this yellow one over here, whatever its name was, it's going to win. So of course it wins because the race has already happened. Because when you pause DSTV, the little clock goes away after a few seconds.
It goes away after that, yeah.
It looks like you're watching live TV. Anyway, he doesn't say much. He says, oh, that's quite nice. Anyway, I called him a few minutes later for the next race. Now we're going England, America, South Africa. We're switching between all races. Second one, I call home. He looks at me, he goes, oh, he says, your guys, that's quite interesting. He says, you win any money? I said, yeah, I had $100. I don't want a bit of money. Anyway, the third race, I had to call him. He's on the other side of the pool there. He's having a cigarette and a beer. I literally drag him to the table here. He watches this third horse win, and it comes from absolutely nowhere and shits him, mate. And he goes, geez, your eye definitely knows what he's talking about. Anyway, the fourth race arrives. No, sorry, there was a delay. So because I was 2 minutes behind, they're racing some of these steeplechase 5K races, which the Oaks can't tell me who's won because they've started running already. It's so long. So now I'm telling my mate here, listen, get your boyfriend out of here. I need to pause for another 3 minutes. I need to be 5 minutes behind. So anyway, I waste about 20 minutes getting 5 minutes behind. She sends him to the car to go get something, sends him inside to go fix a drink. Oak doesn't know what's going on around the place. Anyway, the fourth race comes along, and of course, absolutely shits in the sauce. But this was a classic. Sorry, this one just gets up, and he's convinced. Now he's on his phone. He's opening an account. Oak's never had a bet before in his life. He's now opening an account. So now he's drunk. He's had a few beers, and he's asking her, and he's going, give me my credit card number. Now she knows it's a joke. She's in on it. So she's reading the wrong number to him. Digits wrong, the wrong way around. She's trying to delay this. So I'm trying to get the fifth winner, and I really want to get this. So eventually I get the fifth and sixth winner, and he's going, I couldn't get on that race. They closed it. Now, obviously, they closed it. We're 5 minutes behind. But anyway, so then I take my phone and I do a little video. I say to him, Bree, now you got to tell my mates how good I am. So he goes on. He says, Oracle's like, God, I promise he's just tipped me 6 winners in a row. Anyway, Phil, so then I show him the TV. I pause the TV and I show him. And then I recorded that. He said, I've just been conned by the Oracle. So let me tell you, whoever's watching this, I promise you, I will help you. Get my number from Brent. If you don't know my number, I will send you those winners. You've got to do this with somebody, but please stop short of letting them actually bet. Don't turn Ike into a punter. Have a bit of fun with him, but don't turn him into a punter.
Yeah. Give him the wrong credit card number. Like he's.
But I promise you, the Oak absolutely loved it. He is naive, yes, Shane. He's 100%. He's naive. Yeah.
Hey, Gav, it's been a great chat, man. What have we done? An hour and 38 minutes, and it's flown by. Anything else from your side? Just quickly to thank all the boys in the live chat. It's been great. And going to be talking with another great character of the sports betting and horse racing and poker industry, Gary Lenton. That's going to be 8 o'clock on Tuesday night. We're going to be having a similar chat with him. But what are any closing thoughts for the guys? Any advice? I won't ask for any bets this weekend because there are none.
Yeah, just discipline. Punting can be fun, can be scary, can be dangerous. But at the end of the day, if you're betting with money that you honestly, you've paid your school fees, you've paid your rent, you've paid everything else, and you're happy and you're comfortable with the amount, the reality is if you're a 50 Rand punter or 100 Rand punter or 500 Rand punter, you must know how you feel after losing that money. If you're okay with that, then and you've paid everything, then you found the level where you are. And if you put 50 Rand on something and you win $100 and you don't feel like you've won anything, then you're at the wrong number. So you've got to find the right number that feels comfortable for you, and honestly stick to what you know. Don't get involved in betting on all sorts of absolute rubbish. And seriously, there's so much that you can get involved in today. Don't do it. Stick to your discipline. Stick to your money management. Don't bet with money you don't have. Don't gamble. It's simple as that. People don't understand the difference. You would have remembered an article I wrote a couple of years on my website, the difference between punting and gambling. And there's a massive difference, Brent. There's an absolute massive difference. They're not even the same thing. They're completely different.
Excellent. That's Oracle Rugby, the one and only Gavin. It's been great chatting to you on the show. And good. I really enjoyed this first time of my first bet. Join us on Tuesday night at 8 o'clock to speak to Gary Lenton. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do go down below and hit the subscribe button. Thanks, everyone, and thanks to all the boys in the live chat.
Cheers, guys. Thanks.